We're here at Washington Hall with Ravenous Randy Myers. He is unmasked for a long time. There was someone who we were like, I think he's kind of Randy-ish, Curry Man, and he was unmasked. Now Ravenous Randy Myers is back.
Finally, at last.
How's it feel to be back with the Defiance, man?
It feels like a whole bunch of things. It feels like something that I've been waiting for far too long. Getting out there and seeing like the faces and stuff like that made me like, it all came back to me. I honestly was like, right before my music hit in the back, I'm like, oh, this is what it takes for me to feel alive. That was the moment. I'm like, what have I been missing? And I've been feeling down for like a couple months. I was like, what is it? And then right behind that curtain, I'm like, oh, this is what it takes. Yeah. This is what it takes. No medication, you know, take it. But therapy, that's all important stuff. But it was that moment that made me like, everything kind of fell in a line. That last move of the Rubik's Cube, you know, that made everything feel like it fell in place.
So I gotta ask you, what? I mean, Curry Man's a legendary character.
100%.
What was that like stepping into that role?
Amazing. Curry Man was a character that I watched for years back in the day in TNA. Some of my favorite TNA matches, my absolute favorite TNA match of all time is they had a fish market match. Okay. This was Team 3D, the Dudleys at the time, and then it was versus Shark Boy and Curry Man, and then it was like they were using fish as props. So like there was frozen fish around the ring. They were hitting each other with mackerels, with salmon. They were using fish sticks. It's one of the most ridiculous matches of all time, but somehow they actually have made it work. Yeah. Lots of times you see those like crazy idea matches that just kind of fall flat on their ass as soon as they come out, but this one actually somehow managed to have a great match. And so that one always stuck in my head as like silly being done right and being kind of pushed to the extreme, and then still being able to be both not only entertaining, but also like an actual believable match as well. So being able to like work with Curry Man that closely meant so much to me. And I don't know, do you know the history of Curry Man being one of those muscle figures? Do you know that?
Actually, no, I don't know the history.
So do you know those muscle figures that are those figures from Japan that they brought over?
They don't even have paint on them.
Exactly, they're like little rubber figures from like the early 90s or whatever. And there is one that's actually Curry Man, and that's where the idea for the character came from. That's cool. So there's so I was playing a character that I loved on TV, but was also originally an action figure. So to be an action figure, and of course I went out and bought the Curry Man figure, and so I have a figure of a character that I played at home that like makes all my loves come together.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Vintage toys, professional wrestling, ridiculousness, spicy food, it's all the best.
Okay, so favorite spicy food?
Favorite spicy food off the top of my head, I'm probably gonna go, I just like I like scrambled eggs, and I like Frank's Red Hot in my scrambled eggs. Oh, wow. So really, I'm not going to be too, I'm from Canada. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't expect me to be too spicy. Yeah. But I mean, that's so, I definitely do have a tongue for it, though. Okay. What about you?
You know, I like some, you're putting me on the spot here. I just like Thai food with a lot of spice.
Oh, perfect. That works. Yeah, 100%. So, that's great.
It's not like a big thing, but I love Thai food and I love it to be spicy.
Exactly. So, you want to taste it. You want to let it. You want to know it was there. It's like a good punch to the face. Exactly. You want to know.
Let it clean my sinuses.
Exactly. Same as a punch to the face.
Yes. So you are someone who goes to estate sales, garage sales, and stuff, and you buy vintage wrestling figures.
This is true.
Not just wrestling figures. All kinds of action
figures. 100%. The only time I'm an alpha male is when I'm an alpha male considering my ALF collection.
Oh.
Yeah. Nice. So I bought $650 worth of ALF merchandise from a guy on the island. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about this.
Everything. Yeah. I got electric toothbrushes. I got one of the old ALF phones. I got box full of comic books. I got wallpaper. Do you need wallpaper? I got wallpaper. I got so many of the stuffed dolls. I got talking ones. I got light switch covers. I got pillows. I got t-shirts. I got underwear. I got the works, my friend.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so far I've been able to triple my money back already on that. Just selling it back, selling nostalgia back to people that you know, like have a soft spot in their heart for ALF.
Is there anything that you're like not parting with?
Yeah, I have a couple buttons that I really like. I have that wall switch, or the light switch is so freaking rad. Yeah. And then I kept some of the pillows and stuff like that as well. Okay. Most of it was like, and then I kept, of course, a doll for myself because that was from my childhood, kind of trying to get those things back, you know? And so that was the big thing, was like talking to these people one-on-one and getting to meet with them, and then like hearing their nostalgic memories and stuff like that. Like one person told me that they grew up being pretty sick child, and the only thing that made them feel better in the hospital was watching reruns of Elf.
Okay.
And then they got rid of their doll when they were a teenager, and they always wanted it back. So to be able to give that back to them and bring back those kind of memories and stuff like that. And then another person said that Elf was their favorite growing up, and they had a granddaughter that was being born, so they were going to give it to them.
Yeah.
So it was like this cool like pass on and getting to talk about nostalgia and like igniting that child in people, just like we do with professional wrestling, right?
Dude, that's amazing. What any other weird collections that you've purchased or weird figures? Or
Lately, I've been really into like bootleg stuff, so I'm trying to find like the weirdest kind of like off-brand stuff, because I think like when I was young, I was always about like the brand name, the hottest toys and stuff like that. But I always had a box full of the other ones too that were kind of like my background characters or something like that, or people who would play like my jobbers, for lack of a better term, you know what I mean, in my wrestling federations. But now I'm like kind of like looking at all those guys and I'm like, you know, they worked really hard. They did not get the appreciation that they deserved. So I'm kind of going back and looking at all those people who helped make the other stars, you know what I mean? Helped make the other action figures in my line the stars that they were, because they were willing to put them over. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
When I was a kid and I would play, you know, crazy with these figures, I had a ring, but I only had a few of the actual wrestlers, but I made like Thundercats, like side characters, you know, or like, you know, some like I made like a Power Ranger, one of like my like you know, he was like my Hayabusa.
Exactly,
you know?
yeah, very much a luchador has that very much that look, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was the cool thing about that, is you can make it, and your imagination was your limits, which is the same out there. And now you're seeing, I think, a lot more characters that are kind of like a Thundercat within the wrestling ring. You know what I mean? Within this generation of wrestlers.
We've seen people cosplay Danhausen here. Have you ever seen someone cosplay Randy Myers?
I have, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I've had a couple times where I've been like fortunate enough to have people on Halloween or something
That's
like
awesome.
that kind of dress up like me, which has been pretty touching and pretty, like fulfilling. You know what I mean? Because I remember dressing up as my favorite characters when I was young, and then to see somebody do the same for me, it's like, oh, shucks. You know?
Who was your guy?
Who's my guy?
Girl, when you were a kid? Like,
my wrestling person?
Yeah, were you like a Hogan fan?
No, I was a Piper. I was a Piper.
Oh,
I was definitely a Piper. I think that's not that big of a surprise, you know. I just like the character, and there was just an electricness about Piper that was kind of like over the top, and it felt like there was like less of a layer of character. It felt like this is a real maniac that I'm watching, and that kind of felt authentic to me, and that's always been kind of what I've tried to bring as well, is that like bit of authenticity to the ring. So it was Piper when I was really young, and then went into Foley when I got older. So
being someone that, you know, has been around the business for a long time, you're a veteran. Have you got to meet Piper?
I did. I actually worked with Piper there was a reality show in Canada called The World of Hurt, and it was a 6-week show where we filmed with Roddy Piper for that 6 weeks, and he was training us, and it all led up to like a show at the end. So that's cool. Yeah, and I got to do a Piper's Pit. Yeah, and I got to be in the main event of that show, and it was super cool just to be able to like be under that learning tree and talk to Piper, and kind of like cracked my egg a little bit. I think I was playing a lot of character at that point, and then he kind of asked me some real stuff that hit a little bit harder, and asked me about my truth and kind of my past and stuff like that, and I was willing to open up about that, and I realized that I didn't need to hide so much, and that actually like hiding behind this character was kind of like not doing me as much good as being my authentic self again. So he taught me, this person I thought I saw as being authentic, taught me how to be a little bit more authentic, and allowed me to show like a little bit of my wounds and stuff like that, or like, not flaws is the wrong word, but just like my soft underbelly rather than my flex muscles or something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was a great opportunity to have to. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was rad.
I hear his daughter is trying to get into wrestling, or she is a wrestler.
Yeah,
Teal.
Teal
Piper.
I actually worked his son as well. Actually,
really?
Yeah, at one point. Yeah, he was doing some mixed martial arts at a time, and then I think Piper got him to do some wrestling as well. A show, and then his kicks were still mixed martial arts.
You're like, that's
and that was there. That was there for sure.
Yes. So Danhausen, man, when we dropped the announcement that you would be wrestling Danhausen, it caused quite a commotion in Defiance. It was like this dream match. People knew, you know, it was like this, like two galaxies coming together of these amazing characters, you know, the hometown hero, and then Danhausen, this guy they watch on AEW. It's like, it was so amazing. So had you ever met Danhausen?
No, tonight was the first time that we met. Tonight was the first time we kissed. Tonight was the first time we punched each other in the face. Awesome. All firsts tonight.
Awesome. Think there'll be a second?
I certainly hope so. Yeah, for sure. I loved as soon as we met and we started talking about ideas and stuff like that, we hit it off right away. We're right away on the same page, which I figured we would be.
Both creative and
definitely both
think outside the box.
100%. And I think we think outside the box, but inside the same box. If that makes any sense. Inside the old VHS horror box. You know what I mean? Maybe like a copy of Elvira or something like that. House on Haunted Hills or something like that. Yeah.
So so the vintage toys. I imagine you probably do love like old school vintage horror movies.
Of course I do. Yeah, 100%.
Can you give me a list of some ones that I need to check out?
Oh, some you need to check out. Okay. Now see, now you put me on the spot. What did I just watch?
Or just ones in your collection that you love?
Well, I think I just got Ghoulies. Ghoulies. I'm a big fan of Critters. I'm sure you've watched the Critters movies. I love
Gotta love Ghoulies too with Wasp.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually the one I picked up. That was the one I picked up 100%. So I like any sort of like Little Rubber Monster movies. I love
the bootleg Gremlins.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. I'm a big fan of Basket Case. Have you seen the Basket Case?
I've never seen that.
Check Basket Case out. It's the same sort of thing, like a Little Rubber Monster kind of thing. It was about someone who was born with his conjoined twin, and then the twin was cut off, and then I'll let you watch it. It's fantastic.
One of these days when you're in Seattle, you need to go visit a place called Scarecrow Video. Have you been to it?
No, I have not.
It's a massive video store. I mean, they have DVD, Blu-ray, and stuff like that, but they also have like a crazy VHS collection, and they have such a crazy collection of horror movies, and it's all different genres.
That's cool.
And there's different rooms of different genres.
Oh, wow.
They're so curated and specific that there's like little horror section that's called like Vengeful Acts of a Wrathful God. There's one section called Lil Bastards.
Perfect. Yeah. That's my section.
So it's just like, it's amazing. So
that's awesome. No, I used to like my favorite job ever next to professional wrestling, of course, was working at Blockbuster. And that was I love that job. At one point they did offer me a promotion to manager, but I did not want it. I did not want responsibility. What I wanted was to watch The Office on the DVD player the whole night and hand people their tapes. One of my favorite things about working at Blockbusters was occasionally people would drop off the wrong tape. Yeah. And then, either like you get to keep it or take it home. Maybe you'd watch it or something like that. A lot of the time it was porn. Yeah. A lot of the time it was porn. And if somebody came with a tape that was maybe for another video store, they'd come right back and be like, oh, sorry, I think I dropped off the tape for Hollywood Video here or whatever. But if it was porn, they wouldn't necessarily do that because there was a certain level of so they didn't want to know. So we got to like always take those porn tapes home and watch that. And that was one of the best things about working at that Blockbuster. Yeah. I
don't want to put him on blast, but we all know Bill Gates, right?
Yeah.
Bill Gates, obviously. So I used to work at a record store, and the story is, and I didn't work there in the time of the laser discs, but apparently what he used to do is he would buy like family-friendly laser discs, and he would sandwich porn laser discs in between. So,
porn on a laser disc. That's next level. Yeah, that is next level.
I worked at a record store, and like that, I would love to work there still if I could live off of $9.25.
100%, yeah.
It'd be great.
If they brought Blockbusters back in Canada, I'd be all about it.
Do they even have any like video stores or like?
No, we don't really. No, I think we have one in Vancouver proper. So it's like a half vintage store, half video store. So I'm there all the time, clearly. Yeah. Black Cat Video, check it out if you're in Vancouver.
Nice. How's the stand-up comedy been going?
Stand-up comedy's been going great. Yeah. So I've been doing that. Like that was my thing that I kind of got into during the pandemic and then stuck with it ever since. So I met a whole new crew of weirdos. So I've been working with them, in Vancouver and doing shows, a couple shows a week, getting up there as often as I can. I run a monthly show called Comedy Vinyl where we have comedians do like 30 seconds to a minute of karaoke before their set. Cool. And then we do the comedy afterwards. None of them are good singers. So they basically fail right off the top and you're like, oh, and then they shine because they're so good at comedy. And you're like, oh, they're actually good at this thing. Yeah.
What's your go-to for karaoke?
My next one's going to be, I think, "Take Me Home Tonight" is probably my go-to. But next time I'm going to do "Rich Girl" because it's my co-host's favorite song. So that's what I'm going to do.
I like the songs that don't require much like actual skills. So I'm not a good singer. So I've found that the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and Rob Zombie are the best.
Oh, that's cool. Yell. That's fun.
You can just yell and be animated.
100%.
And it's good. So
we do it in this little art gallery. So it works perfectly when we have somebody do like a heavier song or something like that because it changes the vibe quite quickly. It's awesome. Totally.
Okay, so the elephant in the room is this incredible outfit. Thank you. So let's talk. You got the Randy Myers in the back. Yeah, it's incredible. So this is new.
Yes.
This is the debut of it here in Defy.
It is indeed.
It's a bit Beetlejuice-ish.
I would say that's very true. Yeah.
Tell me the inspiration, and like.
I think you pretty much hit it on the head with a little bit of Beetlejuice, a little bit of Darkness, a little bit of like Led Zeppelin, kind of those old school rock and roll kind of vibe or whatever. I realized it was something that suited me, but I'd never done before. So I took it to my seamstress and I was like, hey, do you think we could send them over some pics? And I was like, do you mind if we do this? Can we make a jumpsuit? And then I got it, and then I put it on, and I was like, boy, this is just heavy in the crotch. It's a little tight. And then I asked the seamstress, I'm like, oh, is there anything we could do about this? And she said, I thought you wanted a jumpsuit. And that's when I realized that all jumpsuits are a little tight in the crotch.
Yeah.
I looked at the pictures I had sent them for reference photos, and they were all quite crotch heavy. So I realized, no, they did exactly what I was looking for. So I absolutely love it. It's just super fun.
That's awesome. So now that you're, out as Randy again, and you're here in Defy, and the Defiance has embraced you once more. What are you looking to do in 2024 and the rest of the year in 2025?
I want to let's climb right back top. Let's climb right back to the top. It's about time. I've had some ups and downs. I've been not myself. I haven't felt like myself. I've not been myself, and Defy's my home, and I want to definitely make them know that Daddy's home.
Yeah.
Daddy's home.
And so you're very well aware that Defy and Progress have teamed up.
Definitely, yeah.
Would you ever be stoked on going over to the UK for a tour?
For sure. I'd love to go over to the UK. My dad was actually born in England, so I have a little bit of lineage there. I did one short tour there back in 2005. So I'd definitely love to go back over there. Okay. Yeah, snog. We go there and snog a little bit, right?
Yes. Okay, Dead or Alive. Dream wrestling match.
Ooh, are we
talking? Other than Piper?
Okay, Dead or Alive dream wrestling match. Oh, okay. I'd want Foley for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd want Foley, 100%. Awesome. Would it be Mick though? Would it be Cactus? Would it be? I think I'd want Mankind. I think is what I'd want. I think that would be my dream. Or something maybe in an ECW match too would be fantastic. I was always a big Spike Dudley mark, so Spike Dudley match is something I would absolutely die for.
Who were your favorite ECW wrestlers?
Okay, Spike. Tajiri, who else was in there? I loved Mike Awesome.
Oh yeah,
so great.
Yeah.
So that match Spike had versus Mike Awesome is one of my all-time favorite matches. I love a bump-heavy match, which is why I like people like Spike Dudley. I like Mick Foley. I like people that are willing to give their body to the match. Right. So those are the kind of things that make my heart flutter.
I was a huge ECW fan, and things that I rewatch are, obviously you rewatch the golden years of it, but toward the end, Steve Corino's underrated with that run in the end, the king 100%. Of old school. That match he had with Dusty Rhodes and stuff.
So great.
Steve Corino's a badass.
Totally, I couldn't agree more. I thought that last run was awesome. I thought Rhino was badass too. I thought these they had some really good stuff at that tail end. They were it was normally when something's reaching the end, you can kind of tell it's reaching the end, and there was ways to tell that with ECW, but of course. But then there was also people that were like, this thing is still rocking. I mean, obviously Rob Van Dam as well, and Jerry Lynn, the list could go on and on. Lance Storm, I fucking loved being from Calgary and stuff like that. To see somebody doing, I was always a Hart fan as well, but then to see somebody doing more of the extreme style and stuff like that was kind of okay, this is pretty cool like that. Yeah, big fan.
Just a random question because, we know Nicole Matthews and Artie, they run a school. Have you ever thought about being a trainer yourself?
Yeah, I actually done a little bit of training myself back in Calgary. I did some training at a place called BJ's Gym for about 6 years, and I had some students under my belt. Yeah, awesome. So that was super fun. Definitely something I'd like to do again because I think that's how you pass it on, you know what I mean? And that's how you make sure the next generation is carrying it on, and then you can see little bits of yourself in the people that you teach as well, So one of the people I trained back in the day is still wrestling now, and then I just worked with them at a show up in Vancouver not that long ago.
Shout him out. Who is it?
Michael Richard Blaze, MRB. Okay. Yeah, he came down here and did a show actually as well, and he's just flourished so much since then and grown so much as a performer, and I can see some of those seeds that were planted by the training that I did and the training that TJ Wilson did and Talia and stuff like that. And then you can see them become flourish and take the piece from here, a piece from there, and become a hell of a talent. Okay. And then they have students under their own as well now too. So it carries on and carries on, right? Those are the kids we could have in wrestling.
And you can do it all: comedy, music, wrestling. There's no rules here.
No, there's no 100%. Exactly. Why not? I mean, life's short. You know what I mean? So then why wouldn't we want to get all... It's short, but it's also so long. It's long enough for you to still do all the things you want to do.
Absolutely.
If you get the opportunity, take it, right?
My last question for you. How often do you dye your hair?
2 days ago now, before every big show.
Okay.
So if there's a big show coming up, I always make sure it looks fresh.
Yeah.
But so that normally ends up happening more often than I'd like. But probably every 2 to 3 weeks kind of thing or whatever. A full bleach will probably be 6 weeks, and then I'll kind of take it all out and then do it all over again fresh.
Well, it looks fantastic.
Thank you. I was going for that.
Ravenous Randy Myers, any final words for the Defiants?
I'm back at last. Thank you.
It's the Defyant Ones.
Life had to fly.